It's not a popular thought and it might actually surprise you, but God delights in weakness. He knows that no one can do life without him, and he created it this way. Scripture calls us sheep, a weak and defenseless animal, and often refers to us as children. So, why does God delight in weakness? And how can we be weak, especially in a world that tells us to be strong? Well, the Lord knows that pride is one of the strongest temptations we face. It's part of our fallen human nature. We gravitate toward it, even if we don't want to. But embracing weakness helps safeguard us against the pride that lurks below the surface. If we're strong all the time, even in doing good, we might start thinking that our power is enough, or we might be tempted to take credit for the good things happening in our life. This leads to a fall, scripture says. Paul did the opposite. In Paul's ministry, it was full of fruit, but he boasted in his weakness. When Paul asked the Lord 3 times to remove a weakness, this possibly was a physical weakness, he records the Lord's response to his request in 2 Corinthians 12:9, and it simply says, "My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness." So now I'm glad to boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ can work through me. Did you catch that? Why can we actually boast or celebrate in our weakness? Well, it's found in those 2 little words, so that. Here comes the answer. Christ's power can work through me because his power actually works best in weakness. Wow. The weakness here, it's not referring to sin or character issues in our life, but rather a physical weakness of the body or a weakness of the soul where we want strength and capacity to understand something or to hold up under difficulties. So, like Paul, we can say, "Bring on the weakness so that your power can work best through me." When we realize our weakness, it puts us in a perfect place to look to God, to actually rely on God. And scripture tells us he always comes through. That's why Paul wrote in Philippians 1:6 that he was confident of this very thing, that he who has begun a good work in you will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. See, the Lord is faithful to finish what he starts. Our role is to cooperate with him, not refusing his grace by trying to do it all in our own strength. Too much striving will actually separate us from God. James 4 verse 6 says, God resists the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. You see, weakness is freedom. It's how we enter the Christian faith by admitting that we can't save ourselves and accepting Christ's death on the cross. And since salvation doesn't start with us but God, we shouldn't try to live our Christian lives without him either. See, learning to be weak and accepting our weakness will actually open us up to receiving God's power in new ways. When we fail to love God and others the way that we want to, we can turn to God's grace, which is made perfect in our weakness. Isn't that amazing? Where we fail, he's strong. The Lord already knows we can't do it ourselves, and he's ready to help all who call on him, both at the point of salvation and daily in our Christian walk. You see, weakness is actually freedom. It's a good gift that God gives us. Are you physically weak, emotionally weak, tired of trying to fix things or control things? Good. Let God take your weakness and replace it with his strength, because that's courageous living.